Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week we're going to talk about stucco siding, and we'd like to thank Agent Unicorn for a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And we'd also like to thank the Himalaya app for featuring us this week on their website and their mobile app. And they've got a great podcast app for Android or iOS. And the coolest thing about Himalaya, they have a tip jar. We had an interesting water heater project this week. Your cousin Jason called and said he had no hot water, and he has a gas water heater. It's a power vent style, so it's being exhausted out of the side of his house through a PVC pipe. The gas control that he has an LED light, and it can give you troubleshooting tips. So it was blinking, and the code said that there was a pressure switch failure, which means, the pressure switch could be bad. But we tried to troubleshoot, what else could it be before you had to hire somebody to come over.
Right.
So we had him clean the screening on the bottom of the water heater where air is drawn in, and then check that pipe on the outside of the house where it's exhausted to make sure there's not an animal or a bird didn't make a nest in there or his kids shoved anything in that pipe. And what's funny is he said, you know what? A couple of days ago, I saw that screening was off of that pipe on the outside of the house. So I said, well, you need to check to make sure that there's not anything in there. And the way that it's vented, there's an elbow on there facing down, so you really can't see into it. So I told him he's going to have to clean the screening on the inside, and then he's going to have to cut that exhaust pipe so that he can see in there and see if there's a problem. So he cut it off, he looked down into it, and it was filled with mulch and stones. And he asked his boys if they had put anything in there, and they said, oh yeah, we were putting stones in there, Dad. And so he cleaned all that out.
Well, I'm sure the older one blamed the younger one.
Right. So they removed all that, and now he has hot water. So it's a pretty easy fix. So if you never see that troubleshooting problem where it's a pressure switch, it's good to make sure that air is coming in properly and leaving properly before you call in a professional. The ancient Greeks were using stucco on walls around 1400 BC. The ancient Egyptians and Romans used stucco on the outside of their walls to help waterproof their buildings. And some of the old formulas used lime, gypsum, rabbit skin glue, limestone, and marble dust. And there are stone carvings from ancient Egypt to show you how to make animal glue. Other stucco formulas use sand, lime, and water, or lime, sand, and hair of an ox or hair of a horse. And people were experimenting with a lot of different additives to the basic formula. So they were adding animal blood, urine, beeswax, or beer, trying to make a better stucco.
Stucco is like cement?
Yeah, the new formulas are using Portland cement, sand, and water primarily, but there's a variety of formulas. Some stucco will use hydraulic cement, masonry, or plastic cement, and pros call stucco cement plaster. In the 1800s, Portland cement was invented by heating limestone mixed with clay. Limestone is calcium carbonate, which you can use to make cement or antacids. And clay is made from fine particles of rock and soil minerals. And clay is interesting. When you mix it with water, it can be shaped, and it's going to maintain that shape. And when it dries, or if you heat it, it becomes very strong.
It's all like pottery.
Amazing what they figured out you can do with just natural materials. Stucco can be the material that's used to create the siding of your home, or it can refer to the style or the look of the material. The National Association of Home Builders says stucco is used as the exterior wall material for about 25% of all new home construction. And this is popular in Florida, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, and areas with hot, dry climates. Stucco doesn't do as well in areas with a lot of rain or high moisture. And you don't want snow piled up against your stucco.
So you're not going to see this in Alaska?
Well, you'll see it. You'll see it everywhere, but it's not as popular in areas like Alaska. The Portland Cement Association said stucco installed in accordance to industry practices at 1/4-inch and 1/2-inch thicknesses withstood water penetration with wind speeds of 110 miles an hour. and half-inch thicknesses provided excellent resistance to water at wind speeds over 155 miles an hour. So stucco is very durable. It's insect, fungus, fire, and rot resistant. And if it's well maintained, many pros say it should last 60 to 80 years over concrete block and 50 to 60 years over backer board or metal lath.
Okay. Are there different styles of stucco?
Yeah, there's a range of different textures you can have with stucco. Some of the most popular are sand, dash, lace, cap face, pebble dash, and Santa Barbara.
Did you make up a couple of those to see if I was paying attention?
I did include worm, which is kind of an older style. Those are some great names. Huh?
Yeah.
Sand, or it's sometimes called a float finish, is a pretty smooth finish, but depending on the type of sand they use, you can have different textures. Dash is going to be more textured. This has a rougher finish than sand. Pebble dash, they use small pebbles, gravel, or even shells to create a rough, interesting surface. Lace is created by applying stucco in random patterns, and then they go back over the surface. They knock down the stucco, and they create high and low spots. There's a bunch of variations of that lace texture. It's more of a traditional look, and it's going to hide imperfections well if you have to make repairs in the future. Cap face has high and low areas like lace, but usually the main area is fairly smooth, and then you have random or small areas that are indented or lower. Santa Barbara is a fairly smooth finish that shows some trowel marks and texture differences, and this gives the look of the old hand-finished adobe homes. But there's a lot of different styles depending on the part of the country you're in and who's doing the work. If you've just moved into a house with stucco siding, a great routine to have is inspecting and cleaning your stucco every year. And this is going to help keep dirt from building up, prevent or remove mold and mildew, and catch any small cracks or damage before it becomes a bigger problem.
Right.
And you should also trim back any trees or plants from your siding. Check your gutters and downspouts to make sure they're not leaking onto your stucco. And if you have a sprinkler system, you want to adjust the water so it's not spraying on your siding.
Okay.
You can use a mild soap and a hose end sprayer to clean off dirt and grime. A couple painters recommended Dawn.
Why do you sound surprised by that?
Painters love the Dawn. Stucco is porous if it hasn't been painted or sealed, so work in one area at a time. You're going to pre-wet it first. So start from the bottom of a section, work to the top, and now you're going to use your hose end sprayer with soap and spray that area starting from the bottom to the top and then the top down. And by pre-wetting it, it's going to prevent dirt from getting absorbed into the pores as that dirt rolls down your siding.
Okay. And
you can also scrub the wall with a soft nylon deck brush on a pole if it's really dirty, and then rinse it off.
What about using a pressure washer?
Yeah, most pros don't recommend using a pressure washer. If you use too much power or if it's too concentrated, you can damage it. And if you have small hairline cracks that are very noticeable, you can be driving water behind the stucco. So most pros are recommending just use a hose end sprayer.
Okay.
There's some ready-to-use products for stucco like Home Armor Easy House Wash. And Easy is just the letters E and Z. And this comes in a hose end sprayer, and the nozzle can be adjusted for a wide spray or a jet spray for dirty areas or for second stories. And they recommend wetting down plants and shrubs around the house before and after you use this product.
Right.
30 Seconds Outdoor Cleaner is a cleaner for algae, mold, and mildew, and this comes in a concentrate or a hose end sprayer. With this, you spray it on your stucco, and you can use a brush to break loose dirt if it's really dirty, and then spray it again without rinsing. And this is designed to bond with the algae, mold, and mildew, and it slowly pulls it off your siding over time every time it rains. And this is safe for plants in your lawn. It's safe for any hard surfaces around your house. And Wet and Forget is another mold, mildew, and algae cleaner like this one. You just spray it on and it works over time.
Right.
Omega Stucco Cleaner, and it's OMEGA, is a water-based detergent that comes in a hose end sprayer or a concentrate. This removes dirt, it breaks down stains. This will work on painted or unpainted stucco or stucco finishes. And the hose end nozzle adjusts for water only or a soap and water mix, and this one is biodegradable. And some pros recommend TSP to clean stucco and a lot of surfaces. So the pros are recommending on stucco diluted 15 parts water to 1 part TSP, And mix this in a 5-gallon bucket. Use a soft nylon brush with a pole. Scrub your siding and then rinse it thoroughly.
Isn't this kind of dangerous?
Yeah, it can be because it can irritate your skin. If you have high concentrations of this, it can actually cause burns. So you'd want to wear gloves, goggles, a mask, work clothes. And it's not great for the environment. It does a great job on breaking down dirt and grease and grime and oils.
Right.
That's why painters like it, and professionals.
And your skin.
They take precautions using it. But like for the environment, if it gets into lakes or streams, it stimulates algae growth and it depletes oxygen. And so it kills fish and other aquatic life and plant life.
Let's go with something biodegradable.
There you go. You should be checking your stucco around windows and doors to make sure the material's in good shape, not allowing water to collect or get behind your stucco. If you have small cracks, you can fill them with caulk, and that's going to prevent water from getting behind the stucco. I would use an outdoor acrylic caulk with a long warranty, so look for 25, 50, or lifetime. And if the cracks are small, a clear caulk works really well. You'd cut your tip to match the crack width. You're going to force caulk into these cracks and use a damp sponge to smooth it, and that's going to give it a little texture. It's going to help it blend in. If you ever decide to paint or cover the stucco, an acrylic caulk is going to accept paint and most other sealants. But if you plan on using a specific sealant, I would check what's recommended for patches and caulks.
Okay.
You don't want to use 100% silicone if you plan on painting. Paint won't stick to the silicone. And if the crack gets bigger, silicone doesn't want to stick to silicone, and most will leave an oily residue. Some top-rated caulks for stucco: Red Devil Lifetime Advanced Acrylic Sealant plus Silicone. DAP, it's DAP, their Alex Plus Acrylic Latex plus Silicone. And Sashco's Morflex, it's MOR-FLEXX. And this is a textured caulk for stucco. And this comes in gray or beige. It's paintable with water cleanup.
Cool.
For larger cracks and holes, you can get a pre-mixed stucco patch. Acrylic latex is easy to push into holes and cracks. And this can be worked with a compound knife or a trowel to match the surface texture. And you can also use like a sponge or paintbrush and shape it before it dries. It might take a little experimentation to get the texture to blend.
So maybe don't start on the front of your house?
Yeah, excellent advice. Some top-rated stucco patch comes from Sika, S-I-K-A. They have a ready-mix stucco patch. It's acrylic-based. It's paintable. DAP, D-A-P, has a pre-mixed stucco patch. This is limestone-based. It can be painted or stained. And Quikrete, it's Q-U-I-K-R-E-T-E. They have a pre-mixed stucco patch. It's textured. It's acrylic latex. You can clean up with water, and it's paintable.
Pre-mixed stucco patch that comes in the tubs.
Okay.
That's different than the pre-mixed stucco that comes in a bag.
Right. Yeah, true stucco is cement-based, so when you mix in water, it starts to harden. The premixed stucco that comes in a bag or a box has a blend of your cement, sand, and other additives, depending on the mix. And this is great for large holes or areas that are peeling.
Okay.
Two of the top companies with premixed stucco are Sakrete, it's S-A-K-R-E-T-E, and Quikrete. If you have large holes or damage to your stucco and have an older home, you should match the type of existing stucco to your patch material.
How would you know?
So if you don't know the history of your home and the material used, I'd probably run down to
who does?
Well, if you buy like a historic home, you probably have some information on the home. If not, I'd probably run down to my local village, talk to the building inspector. They have a pretty good idea of the construction of the homes in your area. Or I would talk to a stucco contractor, and they'd be able to look at it. Because if you have an older home with limestone-based stucco, you don't want to use a Portland cement stucco. They're going to expand and contract at different rates, and that limestone-based stucco is going to be much softer. If the damage or hole exposes the supporting material under it, you need to make sure it's structurally sound. It could be wood lath, wood siding, a metal mesh, or concrete block. So you may need different types of stucco. A traditional stucco over metal mesh is usually 3 coats. You have a scratch coat that's worked into the wire mesh and scratched. It gives it grooves for the next coat. Then you have a brown coat, which is smoothed over the top of that. Then there's a finish coat to give you the texture on the very top. And there's variations depending on the surface you're going over. And with newer homes, there's one coat finishes over a rigid foam board, and that's for better energy efficiency. But if you have large holes or damage, I would have a professional take a look at it, give you some tips on the best way to repair it, and then make sure it's structurally sound.
A professional what?
So a stucco contractor, I would be looking for someone who specializes in stucco.
Okay.
If you have stucco siding and want to improve the look or change the color, the most popular way is to give it either a fog coat, you can redash it if you have unpainted stucco, or paint the stucco. So
how many times do you think you've said stucco in this episode?
A lot. So a fog coat is a thin blend of Portland cement, limestone, and water with a colorant added that you roll or spray onto your stucco. And this is a fast way to change the color, improve the look. It's going to allow the stucco to breathe. It doesn't change the texture at all. And Omega Coat is a fog coat you can add colorant to. You add water and spray it onto your stucco. Redash is a new thin layer of stucco that you apply over your existing stucco to give it a new top coat.
Who makes up these words?
I don't know, but they're pretty cool. So you can change the color or change the texture when you redash. And a lot of pros, they really like redash and fog coating compared to paints or sealers, because this is going to allow moisture vapor from your home to pass through, and you're not going to trap it behind the stucco. If you plan on redashing over painted stucco, though, you're going to have to sandblast off the paint first.
Okay.
Many homeowners like to paint stucco siding. It's a pretty easy project, and it can really improve the look of faded stucco. If the stucco hasn't been painted or sealed, some paints don't require a primer, but for most projects, a primer formulated for stucco is going to improve the look and the durability of the top coat.
Okay.
Elastomeric, cement, and acrylic paints can be used on stucco. Elastomeric paints are very flexible and can help fill and cover small hairline cracks, but they're not as breathable as cement paints, and cement paints aren't as breathable as acrylic paints. Sherwin-Williams and the Stucco Manufacturers Association both recommend acrylic paint for stucco, and the Stucco Manufacturers Association recommends an exterior acrylic paint with a perm rating of 7 or higher and made specifically for cement stucco. Some top-rated stucco paint, Behr Premium, it's B-E-H-R. Their elastomeric masonry stucco and brick paint is 100% acrylic latex, and they say you can tint it to over 90 colors. Valspar, V-A-L-S-P-A-R, their Duramax masonry and stucco elastomeric latex exterior paint is 100% acrylic, and it has a lifetime warranty. And Sherwin-Williams, their Everlast exterior paint is 100% acrylic.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
If you have a home with stucco, you should clean it every season and check for any small cracks or damage. Caulk and repair your stucco every season to protect it. You can apply a fog coat, redash, or repaint to completely change the look of your stucco. And make sure you're using products that are breathable and formulated for stucco.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Himalaya, or your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our books, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 6 on Amazon. Soon, book 7, it's at the editor. We're waiting for it to come back.
If you enjoyed it, please give us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter at FixItCohost, and you can check out our new Instagram, Fix It Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.